So right now I have Robert Carreau. Hey, Robert.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
We're talking about Call to Action Youth Summit. Tell me more about that.
So the origin of this was a couple of years ago, actually 18 months ago, and the Schenectady Foundation, along with a lot of community organizations as our partners, hosted a one-day conference here at Proctors. We had about 400 people come to that actually to really talk about the kind of the state of our youth in the city. And what came out of that was sort of a movement which we now call the Call to Action for Youth, where a lot of our citizens and community leaders and educators said, yeah, we need to place greater emphasis on getting better outcomes for our kids in the community. And so coming out of that, the call to action, we had identified 3 areas that we were really going to focus on as a community. And they are, number one, to try to provide more mentors for young people.
Isn't it? It's so
yeah.
important.
I mean, the number one, they say the number one protective factor for a young person to advance and to be healthy and to move through school and beyond is having a caring adult in their life. So,
and some kids don't have a lot of that.
Well, they don't have enough. That's very clear. They don't have enough, and so we had a goal, kind of ambitious goal, of trying to double the number of mentors in the community. We're still working at that. It's going to be a long-term commitment. The second area was to provide more employment and work opportunities for young people.
That's tough.
And again, there's a lot of research that demonstrates that there are lasting benefits to young people, teens getting work, what they learn from that, and how it carries over.
Once they do that.
Yeah, and they learn a lot about sort of what it takes, and even just the fact that they've earned their own money to buy their own things.
Yeah, and then they realize the value of it, right?
Exactly.
When you have to spend your own money, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, I don't know if I want that.
And then the third thing we decided to work on was to provide more opportunities for young people to get involved in their community as volunteers, to become more civically involved, to have more young people become...
I think that's one of your biggest hurdles.
Yeah.
Because we find, and I have a lot of nonprofits come on the show, every one of them says volunteers. The volunteers are aging. There's not a lot of young people, perhaps in this narcissistic age that we're in, with the selfies and all of the gadgets that they have. They don't seem to think as much about, being there, and helping.
Yeah. So that was the focus, and then what happened after that was somehow we got on the screen. Schenectady, all the work we're doing in Schenectady around youth, got on the screen of an organization. It's a national organization called America's Promise Alliance, which was started many years ago by General Colin Powell.
Oh, okay.
With the support actually of a number of ex-presidents.
Say it again. What's the title?
America's Promise Alliance.
All right.
And so they're the largest national coalition, broad-based coalition that works on youth issues. They saw what we were doing here in Schenectady, and they said, we would like you to host a youth summit. So it was sort of like, wow, how do we do that? But it was really a privilege and an honor with volunteers. Yes, well, exactly what we do here with partnership and teamwork.
Yeah.
So it didn't take long for us to say yes to that.
And Proctors, of course, is always very good.
And Proctors, it's good right here at Proctors. We have a group of about 40 people on this Call to Action Council from different parts of the community, from schools, from organizations, from government, and just citizens who want to see our youths improve. And so they've been all very active in creating this youth summit, which is tomorrow, May 25th, and we are sold out. We, at this point, have more than 430 people registered.
Well, that's wonderful, but you're here also to raise awareness.
Absolutely. So this is hosted by, so we've got this support from America's Promise Alliance and what their initiative called Grad Nation. They have a global goal across the country of having at least 90% of our young people graduate on time. which is a very tall
Well,
order. It's
especially in
aspirational.
Schenectady, when Schenectady's graduation rate has not been as high as it could be.
Right, exactly. And so they've got the benefit, and we've got the sponsorship of AT&T, among others, who are supporting this. So county-wide, Schenectady County, if you looked at all the schools wholly within the county, our overall graduation rate last year, on-time graduation rate, was 77%.
Okay.
We know that Schenectady was 58%. If you were to add in the kids who got their GEDs and got through summer
be higher
school
than
later,
that, yeah.
a little later, we're higher. We're in the low 60s.
And I know that the Schenectady schools have tried to use different tools, working through learning that a lot of kids don't study the same way, don't learn the same way. They've tried different tools to help them along.
Yeah, it's interesting because we, as part of this summit, first of all, we've got about 175 youths coming to it. So it's not adults sitting in the room talking about kids.
Yeah.
It's all of us sitting in the room together trying to create a bridge to each other and understanding each other.
You got to bring all parties to the table.
Everyone, and we have to listen. The whole point of this is that those of us who are in positions of making decisions about resources or making policy have to listen to the young people.
Absolutely, because they know what the problems are.
And they'll open our eyes to things.
Yeah.
So, for example, we've done some videos with kids in Schenectady High School who are sort of pouring their hearts out to us about some of these topics. And one young person was asked about, well, why don't you get involved in the community? And they were very frank in saying, I don't know where that is. No one's ever talked to me about
Where
it.
is
I
the
don't
community?
even, what is that? And so
Yeah,
we're hearing
things.
things.
You're right. It's like we as adults and living in a community and being involved in the community, we think everybody knows that.
Of course.
They don't.
We're sitting in our own little world thinking, oh, why don't they see this? Well,
Yeah.
they're in their world doing what they do, and we have to figure out how to communicate better with
This
them
is
and
a
back and
wonderful,
forth.
wonderful project.
It's we part of that America's Promise. They've got what they call the 5 promises, and we're going to focus on 3 specifically. So one is, in fact, caring adults, the mentoring thing. A second thing is safe places. Do young people feel safe in their community? Do they feel safe in their homes? Do they feel safe in school? Because that's also been studied, and young people who do not have sort of safety psychologically or physically are going to have a very hard time focusing on, right?
Because if you're not safe, if you don't feel safe, nothing else matters except your safety.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those basic needs, right? Your own
Food,
security.
Safety.
So if they're struggling with that,
Yeah.
if they don't know where their next meal's coming from, those kinds of things, they're not going to be really focused on algebra, right? So
Well, that's minimal to them. They don't see a need for that when you're worried about whether there's going to be some violence in your local area or whether there's no food in the refrigerator. I mean, these are the things that your basic Maslow talked about.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
these are the things that are the most important things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting because, like, some of the sessions, we've got some workshops for both young people and adults to kind of get together and talk about some of these topics. We have some panels where we have community leaders who will be addressing. We have got a main topic of how do we make college or career a reachable goal for every student.
Every student.
And some kids aren't going to be college bound, and that's not what they're thinking
that's not the
about.
worst thing either, because we need a lot of people who can do other things,
Yeah.
and you don't need to go to college to
Yeah.
learn to do certain things.
Yeah, and what we've learned is, like, a lot of young people don't know
You need
what
skills.
that is.
You need skills.
Right, and they don't know what those jobs are.
Yeah.
So I remember one young man talking about, he said, it wasn't until I got to be a senior that I even had an idea that we even heard in school about sort of the economy and careers. And he said, I wanted to make my education real.
And we all.
Right, want to make it
we
real.
all want that.
So actually, the sub theme of our day is keep it real.
Yeah.
And it's going to be sort of something that comes up again. How do we keep this real
So
for
you're
young
getting
people?
your feet right down on the ground.
It's a little scary, but you're right. We're going to keep ourselves, going to hold ourselves accountable, feet on the ground, have young people in the room with us, and It should be pretty messy. We don't know what the outcome is going to be exactly, but
I'm sure it's going to be good, though,
yeah.
whatever it is, because what you're doing is you're a pioneer in a way of really finding out what the issues are from the youth and then moving forward. I think it's just wonderful what you're doing. Yeah, and you have to come back again and tell us perhaps what the outcome has been of this, because I personally would be very interested in that. And I know there's a lot of people that are mentoring. Al Majid is doing that Reading is Fun project where he's finding mentors.
Yeah.
Mentors are so important to these kids. So
absolutely.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I'm so excited to read about it in the paper after it happened.